I see a quorum. I must inform members that the clerk of the committee can only receive motions for the election of chair. The clerk cannot receive other types of motions, cannot entertain points of order, nor participate in debate. We can now proceed to the election of the chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the chair must be a member of the official opposition. I am now ready to receive motions for the chair.
I'm nominating Marilyn Gladu to be the chair.
Okay, it has been moved by Ms. Sahota that Ms. Gladu be elected as chair of the committee.
And I second.
Are there any further motions? Seeing none, I declare the motion carried and Ms. Gladu duly elected chair of the committee. Congratulations. And is it the pleasure of the committee for me to continue on with the election of the first vice chair? Wonderful. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the first vice chair must be a member of the government party. I am now prepared to receive motions for the first vice chair. Monsieur Sarré?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to nominate our honorable colleague, Ms. Sidhu, please.
Sidhu. It has been moved by Monsieur Sarré that Ms. Sidhu be elected as first chair of the committee. Are there any further motions? See none, I declare the motion carried and Ms. Sidhu as first vice chair of the committee. Congratulations. Pursuant to Standing Order 1062, the second vice chair must be a member of an opposition party other than the official opposition. I am now prepared to receive motions for the second vice chair. Monsieur Sarré?
Merci, Madame Greffière. J'aimerais nominer honorable collègue.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Madame Larouche. So, Monsieur Sarré is moving that Madame Larouche be elected second vice president of the committee. Are there any other motions?
Si none, je déclare la motion adoptée et Madame Larouche.
I declare the motion carried and Madame Larouche duly elected second vice chair of the committee.
Take the chair.
Thank you so much to the clerk. Merci beaucoup à tous. Félicitations à vous, Madame Larouche, et bienvenue. Thank you so much, and it is an honor to be the chair of the committee. As you know, I was previously chair, but never on Zoom.
Attendez.
So we will learn.
J'aimerais peut-être nommer quelque chose.
I would like to say something. I would just say that I have some notices of motions, so I would like my assistant to send them to the clerk of the committee. Thank you very much. After the routine motions, I will send the motions to all members of the committee, but we first have to go to the routine motions. Comme vous le savez peut-être, par le passé.
So if it is the will of the committee, I will proceed to read through all of the standard motions that need to be passed, and we'll offer for each an opportunity for discussion, and then we will vote yes or no. So the first one is for analyst services. That the committee retain as needed and at the discretion of the chair the services of one or more analysts from the Library of Parliament to assist it in its work. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The second resolution is this. It's relating to the Subcommittee on Agenda and Procedure, that the Subcommittee on Agenda and Procedure be established and be composed of 5 members, the chair, 1 member from each party, and that the subcommittee work in a spirit of collaboration. Is there discussion? Ms. Matheson.
Thank you. I would just like to add in the to that 1 member from each recognized party.
Okay.
And that change.
With the committee's permission, I can circulate Ms. Matheson's suggestions if you'd like. Is everyone in agreement?
Yes.
Wonderful. I will send that now to your P9 accounts.
Very good. Any discussion further on that particular resolution? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that is also passed. The next one is meeting without a quorum. That the chair be authorized to hold meetings to receive evidence and to have evidence printed when a quorum is not present, provided that at least 4 members are present, including 1 member of the opposition and 1 member of the government, but that when traveling outside the parliamentary precinct, that the meeting begin after 15 minutes, regardless of members present. Is there discussion? Ms. Matheson.
It's just going to be me. I would like changes to be made that instead of including 1 member of the opposition and 1 member of the government, that it be including 2 members of the opposition and 2 members of the government.
Further discussion? All right. With the amendment, all in favor of that resolution? Any opposed? Carried. Right, the next resolution is about the time for opening remarks and questioning of witnesses, that witnesses be given 10 minutes for their opening statement, and that at the discretion of the chair during the questioning of witnesses, there be allocated 6 minutes for the first questioner of each party. For round 1, Conservative Party, Liberal Party, Bloc Québécois, New Democratic Party. For the second and subsequent rounds, the order and timing for questioning be as follows. Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Bloc Québécois 2.5 minutes, New Democratic Party 2.5 minutes. Is there discussion?
Oui, pardon, Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chair,
C'est ce qui a été.
is that the new motion that was tabled so that the block could be near the middle so that we can participate in the second round of questions?
My understanding is that this is the standard preferred by the PROC committee. That's where the recommendation initiated, and it is the ability of this committee to change it however we would like. Ms. Matheson.
I have to unmute myself every time.
J'aimerais proposer.
Well, I'd like to move. I'd like to mention then an amendment.
Yes, please go ahead, Ms. LaRouche.
Oui, j'aimerais effectivement.
I'd like to amend to reflect the new motion that was adopted at PROC.
If I may interject, I believe Ms. Matheson may have her hand up.
Yeah,
Yes.
Madam Chair, I thought I had the floor. So do I have the floor now? Is that all right? Or
Yes, that's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so along with my block colleague, it is now that there have been changes made from the PROC committee. So I would like to make the following suggestion, that the motion now read that witnesses be given 5 minutes for their opening statement, that whenever possible, witnesses provide the committee with their opening statement 72 hours in advance, that at the discretion of the chair during the questioning of witnesses, there be allocated 6 minutes for the first questioner of each party as follows. Round 1, Conservative Party, Liberal Party, Bloc Québécois, New Democratic Party. For the second and subsequent rounds, the order and time for questioning be as follows. Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes, Bloc Québécois 2.5 minutes, New Democratic Party 2.5 minutes, Conservative Party 5 minutes, Liberal Party 5 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent. So that is the motion amended to basically let less time happen for the witnesses at the start, 5 minutes instead of 10. 72 hours in advance, their testimony would come to committee, so we'd have a chance to look at it. Round one would remain the same with 6 minutes each. And then the order of the second round would change with the time allocations remaining the same, but Conservative, Liberal, Bloc Québécois, NDP, Conservative, Liberal. Any further discussion on the motion? The motion as amended, all in favor? Opposed? Passed. Very good. On to the next one. This is the resolution or motion regarding, whoops, too fast. Working meals. No, document distribution. That the clerk of the committee be authorized to distribute documents to members of the committee only when the documents are available in both official languages, and that the witnesses be advised accordingly. Discussion on this motion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it is passed. The next one has to do with working meals, my favorite subject. That the clerk of the committee be authorized to make the necessary arrangements to provide working meals for the committee and its subcommittees. Discussion on this motion. Ms. Hutchings.
Just to add a little humor, Madam Chair, and congratulations on being chair. I know you're going to do a great job, Marilyn. We better have to order like weeks in advance because we've got meals to deliver on the East Coast. We've got meals to deliver on the West Coast. So in fact that we're meeting by Zoom now, I think we can just park this one for now, Madam Chair.
Yes. Ms. Matheson.
Sorry. Thank you again, Madam Chair. So according to the proc changes that were made, the addition after the original motion stated that provided the member has confirmed their presence for the meeting. So if we decide to have in-person meetings or hybrid, what have you, that there would be that specification within the motion. So I'd like to move that change.
I think that's an excellent amendment because it does then say, you know, if people have said they're coming to Ottawa, then there can be meals organized. Any other discussion on the amended motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passed. On to the next. Travel accommodation and living expenses of witnesses. That if requested, reasonable travel, accommodation, and living expenses be reimbursed to witnesses not exceeding 2 representatives per organization, provided that in exceptional circumstances, payment for more representatives be made at the discretion of the chair, and that video conference services be used wherever possible. Any discussion on this motion? As the chair, I just have a question and maybe the clerk can answer. So to me, in this time of COVID, if we're going to be having hybrid meetings and most of us will be on Zoom, it would be my preference that witnesses would also be appearing on Zoom. And even though it doesn't expressly say that in the motion, is that allowed or is that something that we should amend for the motion?
That is understood that witnesses will only be allowed to participate virtually.
All right, excellent. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it's passed. Down to the next one. Just flying through these, access to in-camera meetings, that unless otherwise ordered, each committee member be allowed to have 1 staff member at an in-camera meeting and that 1 additional person from each House officer's office be allowed to be present. Discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passed. Next one is?
Madam Chair, can I speak on the next one, please?
Absolutely. Can I read it first? The transcripts of the in-camera meetings. That 1 copy of the transcript of each in-camera meeting be kept in the committee clerk's office for consultation by members of the committee or by their staff. Monsieur Serre.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I thought we were at the next item. I'll put my name on the list for the next item on the agenda. I apologize for that, Madam Chair.
No problem. You're good for that one. Any discussion on the transcript? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passed. And here we come to the notice of motion, that a 48-hour notice interpreted as 2 nights should be required for any substantive motion to be considered by the committee unless the substantive motion relates directly to business then under consideration, provided that the notice be filed with the clerk of the committee no later than 4 p.m. from Monday to Friday, that the motion be distributed to members in both official languages by the clerk on the same day the said notice was transmitted, if it was received no later than the deadline hour, and that 3 notices received after the deadline hour or on non-business days be deemed to have been received during the next business day, and that when the committee is traveling on official businesses, no substantive motions may be moved. Monsieur Sarret.
Sorry, Madam Chair, for not being clear. I thought we were going to the on the next item on the agenda on the study. So,
okay.
So I apologize for the miscommunication.
No problem. My misunderstanding.
No, it's my fault.
All right. So on this one, it's about giving notice of orders of motion, and basically says that, you know, if we're talking about something and the motion has to do with what we're talking about, then it can then be entertained. Otherwise, it must be given 48 hours notice, and we can't do it if we're going to travel. But don't worry, we're probably not going to travel. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, passed. And I believe there's one more. Orders of reference from the House respecting bills. That in relation to orders of reference from the House respecting bills, that the clerk of the committee shall, upon the committee receiving such an order of reference, write to each member who is not a member of caucus represented on the committee to invite those members to file with the clerk of the committee in both official languages any amendments to the bill, which is the subject of the said order, which they would suggest that the committee consider. Suggested amendments filed pursuant to paragraph A at least 48 hours prior to the start of clause-by-clause consideration of the bill to which the amendments relate shall deem to be proposed during the said consideration, provided that the committee may, by motion, vary this deadline in respect of a given bill, and C, during the clause-by-clause consideration of a bill, that the chair shall allow a member who filed suggested amendments pursuant to paragraph A an opportunity to make brief representations in support of them. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that one is passed as well. Other routine motions, that any motion go in camera should be debatable and amendable, and that the committee may only meet in camera for the purposes of discussing administrative matters of the committee, including the selection and consideration of witnesses, a draft report, briefings concerning national security to ensure protection of privacy of individuals, and furthermore, minutes of in-camera meetings should reflect on the results of all votes taken by the committee while in camera, including how each member voted when a recorded vote is requested. Discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that one's passed as well. Very good. Now we are finished with the routine motions. Monsieur Sarret, I believe you had a topic to raise.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just want to clarification. Is the same. I would like to add one, that the committee may meet in camera only for the following purposes: to consider a draft report, B, to attend briefing concerning national security, to consider list of witnesses, D, for any other reason with the unanimous consent of the committee, that all votes taken in camera, with the exception of votes regarding the consideration of draft reports, be recorded in the minutes of proceeding, including how each member voted when recorded votes are requested. That any motion to sit in camera is debatable and amendable.
So this is an amendment to what we just voted on. So I think
this is a routine motion added on.
So let me just refer to the clerk. So we just voted on what we were going to allow for in-camera voting. Can we amend the motion that we already voted on, or do we have to put it as a separate one?
It appears to me that that is the same content. However, if there's an addition that you wish to add, I did hear that you said you would like to add this section, which said to consider motions at the discretion of the committee. Is that what you're saying? You wanted to make an amendment to that?
Yes, you can do that. It's just a routine motion. Yes.
And you're comfortable if we add that to the existing one we just voted on?
Yes.
Everybody comfortable with that in the committee? Okay, very good. All in favor? Opposed? So done. Et Mr. Serret, finally to you.
Mettre en français ici. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is my first time to speak, so I'd like to congratulate you. I was here when you were the chair of the committee a few years ago. Remember very good work being done, and I'm sure we'll keep doing good work. So thank you very much and welcome. Now, and I hope we'll all agree with the emotion, is to continue the work we established regarding COVID, Zoom, the support for women during difficult times during COVID. So my motion, I'm going to read it. I sent a copy to the clerk. The interpreter does not have that motion.
Je vais changer de langage un instant, Madame la Présidente. So the motion reads as follows, that pursuant to Standing Order 108.2 and notwithstanding the committee's completion of the previous study on the impacts of COVID-19 on women in Canada, the Standing Committee on the Status of Women reestablish a study on the impact of COVID-19 on women, that the study focus on those fleeing domestic violence, on women's participation in the economy, and on women in the care economy, and the measures that government has taken in response, that the committee report its finding to the House, and that the committee request a government response to the report.
Very good. Is there discussion on this motion? Ms. Wong.
I remember that before, we broke for proclamation, we did a study on the impact of COVID on senior women. So that part has already been done. So I think we need to look at that part first to see the impact and what has been done, because I don't want to do a study which duplicates what has already been done. So, this is just for the attention of the whole committee, especially for those who just joined us, because we did do a study, we did have a report, but then the follow-up hasn't been really been done. So I just wanted to bring this to the attention of the new committee right now.
I think it's an excellent point, Ms. Wong. And
Yes.
my understanding is that we did not in the previous one. One moment, I will acknowledge you when I'm finished speaking. So my understanding is that you didn't actually get the report issued or the letter issued to the minister at the time. So it may be possible to amend Mr. Serret's motion to say and add to it the inclusion of testimony received before. Ms. Larouche.
Alors oui, je voulais simplement...
Hi. I said earlier that I wanted to send motions to the clerk, and I had a motion a bit in the same vein. So I think we should all table our motions so we can combine them or determine the priorities. Because just like Monsieur Serret, I was on the committee this summer. We agreed to send a letter to the minister, and that in the fall we would prepare a more complete report. So I think there may be several motions which are similar, so we need to look at them and see if we can combine them.
We did not, I confirm, we did not send the letter to the minister, nor did we present a report. So perhaps you would like to take a look at Madame Larouche's motion, which has just been distributed, which I believe will cover what Mr. Serret has mentioned as well.
And did you just send it to our P9s? I'll go
yes,
look
I did.
quickly. Let me look.
En fait, je vais mentionner, je vais faire une vérification. Vous me demandez.
I will check. You're asking me if the motion was sent to P9, right?
I wanted to know because I was a little confused. I thought that Ms. LaRoche was talking about the same motion that Mr. Serret has raised, which is what we were discussing. But in fact, in the motions that were sent, there are additional motions. And so my question would be, is it the will of the committee to...
Peut-être lire la mienne?
Maybe we could read mine. Maybe I could read mine. That's why I'm saying that we should send all of the motions to the clerk, and that in a subcommittee we look at them to give them priorities. Because this is my motion. I'm going to read it. That the committee undertake a study on women entrepreneurs. The interpreter does not have that motion. It's another motion that the interpreter doesn't have, and that this person is reading too fast for the interpreter.
Ms. LaRouche, could you read more slowly? The interpreter is having some difficulty.
D'accord. Donc, plus lentement. Okay. Donc, que le comité...
So, that the committee look at its study on the impact on the women, the
Les documents alors recueillis. Ah, mon Dieu, je pensais le lire lentement, mais je vais donc, voilà.
Sorry for that, but she's still reading way too fast. That the committee finishes the study on the impact of the pandemics on women from the testimonies to hear other witnesses regarding the needs of women in terms of employment insurance, that the recommendations be presented to the House and ask the government to give it a detailed answer to the report.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that what Madame Larouche is saying is more or less the same as what I said, and same is true of what Mrs. Wong said. So maybe what we could do, if it's the will of the committee, is to have a subcommittee. I think that's a good idea, that the subcommittee could take all of the motions. All parties can present motions, and then the subcommittee could look at them, come up with priorities, because it's not easy through Zoom. I don't know if it will be the will of the committee.
And so what I would ask if the committee is good with this is that everybody would send their motions both on the subject of what you were studying and the subjects that you may want to study, that they would all go to the clerk And I would suggest that they would go to the clerk by this Friday, and then that we would set a subcommittee meeting for the Tuesday, 11 o'clock, is that the 20th of October? And that would be a meeting of the subcommittee to look at the motions and sort through them, consolidate where necessary, and bring forward then a list of priorities to the committee on the 22nd for us to consider and then set our work in order. Ms. Matheson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have done a lot of this work already, and it never actually came to fruition. We had a sort of a set plan, as I understood it, before COVID hit, that sort of laid out a number of studies that we had agreed to, that we came together as an entire committee actually to discuss. So while I entirely agree with moving forward on a continuation of the study on the impacts of COVID on women, and a completion to that lengthened study, that would be great, and to discuss it in subcommittee would be fine. If we could also potentially ask the clerk, or if this is possible, to sort of outline what the committee had already decided, and because a lot of, and I'm certainly happy to resubmit all of those same motions, but to sort of say, like, this is what the plan was, so that we understand that maybe after we complete the study on COVID, that we move forward in sort of that same vein.
Yeah, I think that's a very good suggestion, that the clerk would add to the list of the motions that people are bringing, plus the one that we're discussing, what was on the schedule for Status of Women's study, and if there was an agreed priority before, so that we can share that with all the committee members, some of whom are new, and that way, when we come together, the subcommittee can do the initial hashing to see, do we agree that the path we were on is the right one, or are there some new ideas or new circumstances that we want to inject in, and then come with a recommendation for the committee to consider. Ms. Hutchings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, just for your reference, and I know the clerk will circulate it, the motions that we agreed on the last session was the impact of rural women, diversity in senior decision makers, cyberbullying, human trafficking, non-traditional workplace. And Madam Chair, I noticed your comment on referencing a meetings next week, but I didn't think the schedule has been determined yet for ongoing meetings other than this one. So we, I think the opposition whip and our whip and the House administration clerks all need to agree. Just putting that forth for you, my friend.
No, I think that's a fair point. Could the clerk comment on when they believe they will know what slot we're allocated?
Yes, we do not know at this time, but as soon as I do have confirmation on a spot, I will let you know. But at this point, we do not know.
Okay. Are you comfortable as a committee then that I would work with the clerk, that you would send your motions in, and that once we know what we're scheduled to do, that we will put out an agenda for a subcommittee team to discuss, and the following meeting to that would be a meeting of the general committee. Ms. Wong.
My hand was up for the same reason about scheduling. I want to, since most of us are working from home, and my home is 3 hours away from Ottawa, 3 hours behind. So that means if we're meeting at 8, then I'm meeting at 5. So just want to let people know that we have a wide range of time zones. So please consider those who are on the far west or on the far east, because I think we represent the whole nation. So just want to make sure that I don't mind getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning, but just want to make sure that I know ahead of time and not suddenly, well, let's meet at 5:30 in the morning. So yeah, just for your consideration.
Absolutely, Ms. Wong. And if you think about it, if we have the 8:30 in the morning coveted slot, that becomes 5:30 in the morning for you on the West Coast. But if we have the 3:30 to 5:30 slot, I believe, Ms. Hutchings, that puts you to 7 o'clock at night. Yeah, so we'll take that into consideration and see if I can have my way with the whips to influence. All right. Is there any further business that we want to address today? Very good. I'm glad to see this group together. This is important work.
Madame la
that we are-
Présidente,
Oui.
Madam Chair,
je me posais
since we are done with the agenda today, but we still have time, can we have a first reading of the motions that will be sent to the clerk so we can already start thinking about those motions?
We have the time. If you're interested to hear some of the motions that Ms. LaRouche, the NDP, I know the Conservatives have prepared a few, perhaps the Liberals have got some, or perhaps the clerk has the reference of the ones that were previously on. We could hear those. Monsieur Serret?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll just make sure you hear me in English. I just want to like reading. I think we have a set, but we long to read. And I think if I understand correctly, with the clerk, she's going to email them to everybody. So I think reading them today would be not a productive time. Maybe discussing conceptually what we want first, yes, but not reading the motions, because we got to go slow, it takes time. We're going to get them by the clerk's office. So I just want to understand a bit better why reading the motions would be beneficial at this time.
Yes, I think it may be a difficult thing to manage as well over Zoom. My preference would be that the motions get sent out so people can read them and think about them, and that we then have a fulsome discussion with the subcommittee, who I expect most of whom will be very familiar with these topics that have been raised. So if there's nothing else, then the meeting is adjourned.